The rain came to Colombo like a loose screw, rattling bus windows and dripping through each crack. I was on duty in the ambulance when Dylan called from a number I didn't know. "Aka," he said, older brother voice suddenly small. "Come to Slave Island now. Don't tell anyone." Then the line died. Sirens pressed on. The dispatcher barked another call. I told Rovi to handle it, my mother was sick, and ran out into the night with my stethoscope still around my neck. Slave Island at midnight is all neon puddles and greasy smoke. Men leaned in tea kiosks watching cricket highlights under blue light. The phone rang again. "Roof of the old clinic," he whispered. "And Zara, bring a bag." He hadn't called me Zara since we were kids, pretending we were anyone but the children of a mechanic and a seamstress. On the rooftop, wind flapped laundry lines and a bank billboard flickered. Dylan stood under a satellite dish, soaked, eyes blown wide. He was holding a blue courier bag that sagged with weight. "It's not mine," he said, thrusting it toward me as if it burned. "They put it in my tuck. Said I owed. Said take it to Negombo tonight. If I run, they'll tell the police. If I go, I'm finished." I peeled back tape with the tips of the shears I kept in my pocket. Inside, packets stitched into towel seams, tiny bricks wrapped in plastic like slices of coconut. Even before the chemical breath hit, I knew what it was. Heroin. Brown sugar. Enough to sink a boat. The new posters everywhere, the president's warnings, the talk show voices baying for hangings to resume, my head filled with them like rain. We hadn't executed anyone in living memory, but the gallows still waited at Wellicotta, a room with rails and dust, ready if someone decided dust was weakness. "Who did this?" I said. "Tell me names." He shook his head. "The knock. They said they know where Oma sleeps." The knock, the way dealers summon debt, sharp on shutters at 3 in the morning. I had heard it in our lane more times than I cared to count. Dylan had promised to quit the cards, quit the pills, quit driving drunk tourists from Dutch hospital to their hostels at dawn. He'd been clean 3 months, or so he said. Now his fingers trembled and his shirt was inside out. Thunder broke over Beara Lake. In the street below, a police jeep idled. "Zara," he said, "you're the smart one. Fix this." Rationally, there was nothing to fix. A courier bag full of crime. A brother who would be the one caught. My stupid heart sprinted past reason. I stuffed the bag under my courter and led him down the stairs, past a man asleep on a doormat and a cat watching us like a witness. We cut through Pettermarket, shuttered stalls like rows of teeth. At a crossroads I caught a sound behind us, a second set of footsteps that didn't belong to Dylan. I turned and saw a boy perched on a crate under a broken street lamp. He was maybe 15, wet hair plastered to his forehead, white shirt buttoned to the throat. His eyes were the pale, clouded kind you see in cataract patients, the kind that look past you. He raised one finger to his lips. "Who are you?" I said. Dylan pulled my sleeve. "Don't look, just walk." But the boy had hopped off the crate, bare feet slapping water, following us with the unhurried patience of a tide. We took the back lanes to Dylan's tuck, a patched green thing that smelled of petrol and cloves. The boy walked 10 paces behind us, steady as rain. When I turned, he studied the tarpaulin roof like he could read stains. "Get in," I told Dylan. "We're going to Negombo, but not to deliver anything. Who will help us there?" "Maya," I said. "She's on the Sunday desk and knows certain men who talk when they shouldn't." The tuck coughed awake. We swung onto Marine Drive, where waves punched the tetrapods hard enough to spray the windshield. On the radio, a panel traded words like deterrence, example, and mercy. I watched mirrors for blue lights. The boy sat sideways on the back step, though I hadn't seen him climb aboard, pale eyes on the parcel shelf where the bag lay. At the Colony Bridge, rain tightened into spears. A checkpoint bloomed, cones shining like wet teeth. I turned left at the last second, threading past paint warehouses and a shrine to Kotarogama. The boy knocked once on the frame with his knuckles. One knock, the kind that tightens lungs. "Don't do that," Dylan said, twisting around. The lane delivered us beyond the checkpoint, as if the city had offered a crease to slip through. Past Jarella, rain eased into strings. Negombo smelled of wet salt and old fish. Maya's boarding room overlooked the lagoon. She opened to my soft knock and pulled us inside. "You look like ghosts," she said, then saw the bag and went quiet. "Don't put it on the bed," she added. "Phone's off. Battery out if you can." She swept crime reports off a chair. Dylan hovered in the doorway like a boy outside a classroom. The pale-eyed boy stood beside him, close enough to touch, and still Maya didn't react. "Tell me everything," she said. I did, not omitting the knock or the checkpoint. Maya listened the way a surgeon watches a monitor. "There's a meeting tomorrow," she said finally. "Big announcement on narcotics sentencing. Things are moving." She nodded at the bag. "Whoever owns that will move faster." "What do we do?" "Chain of custody," she said. "We seal it, go to a lawyer, then surrender with counsel. That buys time and keeps hands off your brother." We wrapped the bag in a towel and duct tape. She initialed the tape with a marker. Dylan fell asleep sitting up. I dozed with my cheek against the wall, half dreaming of a chamber with a beam and dust like snow. The boy stood by the window, forehead nearly touching the glass, as if eavesdropping on the lagoon. Near dawn, gulls screamed. An engine coughed outside. Headlights rolled across the ceiling. Maya sat up. "They're here," she whispered. The knock that followed was professional, 3 raps. Maya squeezed my hand and pushed me toward the bathroom. "Stay with him," she said of Dylan. "Don't open." I counted breaths between knocks. The boy counted too, lips moving. On the 9th, the window blew inward with a crack like torn cloth. A gloved arm reached in for the taped bundle on the floor. By the time I shouted, the arm was gone, and so was the bag. Maya lunged, slicing her palm on glass. Dylan woke, kicking a bucket. Footsteps retreated on the stairs. We stared at blood on Maya's lifeline and the blank lagoon. "They knew where it was," she said, breathing. "Either they watched, or someone told them." Dylan's teeth chattered. The boy lifted his pale face toward me and shook his head. Maya wrapped her hand and locked the door the thieves had ignored. "They didn't need the door," she said. "They needed our eyes on it." Dylan searched stairs and alley, found only a wet ribbon from someone's sandal. The boy drifted from window to window, peering as if light might confess. "We still go to the lawyer," Maya said. "We still surrender. Now we go empty." Empty was worse than guilty. A bag you could show was at least a story you could tell. Without it we were exactly the liars people already imagined. I washed grit from Maya's cut. The mirror showed 3. My hollow face, Dylan's paler one, and the boy at my shoulder, blurry as breath. When I turned, there was tile. We left at dawn in borrowed raincoats, Maya insisting she ride with us. "If they followed me, they'll follow you," she said. "I have a place upriver where we can think." We drove inland until the sea smell faded. Past Vayangoda the road rose into T, hills shaved into comb lines. Clouds dragged low on the ridges. By Warracapella, Rain returned to needles. The radio delivered a minister praising a tightening of sentences, foreign examples, deterrence, discipline. Dylan turned it off like he could end a weather system. Maya's place was a caretaker's room in an abandoned rest house above a factory. Inside, the room smelled of old tea and iron. A beam crossed the ceiling, scarred where hooks had hung scales. Dylan stared at it too long. The boy didn't look up. He stood with his palm against the wall, counting something. "We'll call Advocate Pereira from here," Maya said, then remembered the batteries were in a mug. After that, the station. "Without the bag?" Dylan asked. "We have tape with my initials," she said. "We have a sequence. We have cuts and a witness. I made tea in a dented pot. When I turned back, the boy was gone. Where his feet had been, the damp floor showed two dark ovals that paled." Dylan covered his face. "They'll hang me," he whispered. "Even if nobody's hanged in years, they'll start with me." "No one is hanging anyone," I said. "We go through law." Rain swallowed the hills. The roof boomed. Then came the other knock, the one inside Bone, sharp, precise, 3 a.m. at noon. Maya's head jerked. Dylan's hands patted pockets as if the bag might have returned. I went to the threshold. Nothing. When I turned, a corner of duct tape peeked from under the bed frame, grey with fibers and a crooked M in marker. I reached down and pulled. The taped towel slid out heavy. "Is that the same bundle?" Maya asked. "It can't be," I said. "They took it." She sliced the tape with a butter knife. Inside lay towels and packets, but the packets held powdered tea packed hard inside plastic. On top was a child's school tie, navy with 2 white stripes, still knotted. Dylan held it like a live eel. "I don't understand." The boy stood in the doorway again, rain on his face, pale eyes on the tie. He lifted his hand, pointed to his throat, then to the beam. In the corner, a ledger sat swollen with damp. Names bled through pages, neat. Beside some, a tiny drawn gallows, noosed. Maya flipped a page and froze at our surname. "Someone kept score," she said. "Debts, deliveries, punishments." Our page had no amount, only the same tie sketched in blue. A drop fell from the beam onto the paper and spread like a pupil. Maya touched the tie as if it might burn. "St. Jude's," she said. "My brother's school." Dylan stared. "You called them." "I called no one," she said. "But I set a swap if strangers came. Tea instead of packets. If police caught you with tea, you'd live. If dealers took it, they'd get sloppy." "You used us," I said. "I tried to keep you breathing," she replied. "My brother carried once. The knock came for a debt he didn't owe. I found his tie on the floor." His neck was bruised where a hook had hung scales. Her eyes rose to the beam. The boy stood beneath it, water slicking his hair. He looked from Maya to Dylan to me and nodded once. We dragged a table under the beam. I reached into a split in the wood and pulled out a phone in cling film, dead and dry. On the back, in blue pen, Jude. Maya fitted a battery. The screen asked for a code. The boy raised 4 fingers, then 3, then 2, then 2. I tapped 4-3-2-2. One video waited. It showed this room months earlier. The pale-eyed boy in a white shirt stood where Dylan sat now. A man with a scar on his chin argued numbers, caught the tie when the boy tried to go, twisted. The clip ended in ceiling. "Cider Sergeant Senaviratan," Maya breathed, freezing the scar. "The task force face." The one who holds up packets on television. Gravel crunched outside. 2 cars, one quick, one measured. Umbrellas opened in the mist. The polite knock came. The other knock braided through it like a second heartbeat. I opened the window. "We have evidence," I called. "And a journalist." "Open or we break," a calm voice replied. "You're obstructing an investigation punishable by another engine, another badge." "Stand down," someone shouted. "Warrant for Senaviratan." For a breath, everything paused. Then radios hissed, men argued, the neat line unstitched. We stepped into rain, and hands steered us to chairs under the awning. A detective with tired eyes took my name, then Dylan's. He glanced at the doorway as if seeing a boy there, blinked, and rain occupied the space instead. They took the phone, the ledger, our statements. By evening the radio announced a plan to activate the gallows for traffickers, to restore order. The panelists sounded pleased. I imagined dust lifting at Wellicotta. Maya sat on the step, hand bandaged, eyes on the tie. "They'll bury the video," she said, "or use it when it suits them." "What about us?" Dylan asked. "We still surrender," I said. "With a lawyer, with sequence, with truth." In the days after, events moved like weather. Maya printed names without the clip. The sergeant was suspended pending inquiry. Dylan was charged with possession and bailed. The minister toured prisons promising discipline. In our lane, shutters still learned to fear 3 a.m. knuckles. On the morning we walked into the station, I searched the glass for pale eyes. For a heartbeat I saw them, and a tie knotted too tight. Then only my face, and Dylan's behind it, 2 people who might live or not, walking toward chairs and pens and men who decide. Somewhere a beam held. Somewhere a ledger dried. Somewhere a gallows gathered breath. None of it proved whether the boy had saved us or we had saved him. It felt like justice the way we know it here. Not mercy, not certainty, a hand at your throat loosening just enough to speak. When I blinked, rain erased him, leaving only the smell of tea and iron.